What's up guys, Kevin Cage here. Be sure to like and subscribe. Got a bunch of information, so I'm going to try to do this video. One take, uncut, wish me luck. So I want to kick things off mentioning Blythe Masters. She is arguably one of the most powerful women in the blockchain space. Yes, she has a very powerful background, such as a former exec at JP Chase, and she was the former CEO of DAH. You may have heard of it, Digital Asset Holdings. Well, funny enough, she's originally most credited for and most famous for being the creator of the credit default swap as a financial instrument. Notice this, she's also the chairman of the governing board of the Linux Foundation's open source Hyperledger project. Yes, and they've had direct ties with Ripple working on Interledger Protocol, ILP. Also a member of the International Advisory Board of Santander Group. RippleNet, all over original investments, vested interest, etc. And then also what I think is most important, and advisory board member of the US Chamber of Digital Commerce. We have direct ties to many of the big fintech players like Coinbase, Binance, Circle, Algorand Foundation, MIT. It goes incredibly, incredibly deep. So just pay close attention to this. And there was something I wanted to point out down here, but I'm blanking. In the DTCC is what I want to talk about. Accenture, which is one of Ripple's first investors. IBM, CME, we have former executives like even Miguel Valles. And now also was ASX. All right, yep, here it is. So with DAH, Digital Asset Holdings, notice that they're basically just working on enterprise distributed ledger systems for ASX. All right, and notice this is the Australian Securities Exchange and the DTCC. Remember the former president there, what did he do? He became chairman of RippleNet. Yeah, and they're transferring over $1 quadrillion per year. Interesting. So they're looking on enterprise TLT, and now this year we're acting like CBDCs are just being in development. BS, this has been in the works for years. You can trace it back. She was named the CEO back in 2015 of Digital Asset Holdings. They've been working on this for quite some time, and yet all the sheep are just going to be, fed by a spoon, a different narrative, and they're not going to believe it, but so be it. All right, these people are beyond powerful. So I want to talk about some points with Mark Carney now, and he's mentioned Ripple and XRP in the past as well. Now, Mark Carney is very, very important. He is the former Bank of England governor. Bank of England is important, obviously, as one of the world's biggest banks, but also because it was is a paid Ripple customer. They've trialed even went with Interledger Protocol as well, which is another one of Ripple's creations. So what's interesting, and I just want to reference this and I'll touch lightly, is Mark Carney has bashed the US dollar reserve status before, and typically when that happens, no matter what world leader or public figure you are, Donald Trump, president, or Steve Mnuchin will come back and take a shot at you. They stayed quiet. Why? Because Mark Carney understands what's going on, and I think they're all in bed together. Same concept with even Christine Lagarde, and that's just my opinion. If you have a different opinion, that's fine. I encourage you to think for yourselves, and I'm going to do the same. So, Thal Rathar, level the playing field with XRP, or shall we call it Mark Carney's synthetic hegemonic currency. Hegemonic means more so ruling or dominant. Okay, now this level the playing field vernacular, before I get into it, just so you know, they're referring to the payment space today. But this level the playing field, that has been a phrase for quite some time. They've even used it in the .com bubble, more so for democratizing information. And now, since we're basically in the internet of value, or at least approaching it, it is about democratizing finance, because the tier 1 banks have remained in power for years. The families up top have remained in power for years, and it is simply unsustainable. We have technology that's 40 years old that hasn't been updated since the internet, or even before the internet, so it's simply time to kick things in the gear. So watch how the similar talking points exist. Ready? So, Ripple interoperability will determine central bank digital currency winners and losers. Notice the potential of a second, the C word, the beer flu stimulus bill. 9 million Americans are still waiting for their first $1,200 payment check to arrive in the mail. The inability of our existing financial infrastructure to respond. So interesting. So this chaos is almost bringing order. All of this chaos yes, it's unfortunate that it came to this, but it's showing how inefficient the payment system is today. Interesting. All right, it's highlighting that big time. Right here, RippleNet's ODL, on-demand liquidity, which specifically uses XRP, guys, just so you know. Right here, digital asset XRP solution can also support the direct exchange of central bank digital currencies. So if they take their fiat and the Argentine peso goes digital, or any other currency, the US dollar, the euro, even liquid ones, illiquid ones, and they make it digital, XRP complements digital or fiat. It doesn't matter. It is a bridge asset. I mean, XRP was made with this in mind. It doesn't matter. It's still complementary to the system. And a lot of other protocols are going to be working on similar things as well, with a variety and multitude of use cases. So XRP is faster, less costly, more scalable than any other digital asset, making it the ideal instrument in bridging two different currencies quickly and efficiently. Notice, using a neutral and efficient digital asset like XRP reduces the hegemonic influences of the most powerful nations and helps level the playing field within the international trades payment system. Very, very interesting saying it there. Now, as we see, Mark Carney, remember he said this in 2019 of last year, this was all over the news, and he goes on to say, a single global currency, what Carney called a synthetic hegemonic currency, SHC, supported by the world's central banks, could reduce reliance on the US dollar, because mostly everything is denominated in the US dollar. If all of these countries don't have to go into US dollar or hold a lot of US dollars, what does that do? It reduces the demand substantially. And yes, this would not only, as he says, dampen the domineering influence of the US dollar on global trade, it would actually have a big impact or huge implication for the US economy as well. So we are approaching interesting times. The government is still printing into oblivion, so we will see what happens as we come to enter October, that is for sure. I also want to touch on this, so I am Legion sharing this. Remember when the former CEO of Swift, remember transferring 5 trillion, if not even 6 trillion now with inflation today, Gottfried Lebrant was on stage with Brad Garlinghouse, which is awesome. They were talking about Ripple, they talked about XRP, everything. And one of the things that he said, and it was shut down and incorrect, was this narrative that was in 2017 and maybe early 2018 as well, about the volatility of XRP compared to other currencies, because it's a cryptocurrency rather than transferring in fiat, which is ridiculous. And just listen to this, and then we'll shut them down. I think that the big part of Ripple's value proposition is the cryptocurrency XRP. There, we do find banks are hesitant to convert things into cryptocurrency right now because of the volatility in the currencies. For newcomers, volatility, more so just think of the constant price fluctuations. If you send your money and the price is dropped and the rates dropped, you're gonna get less money on the other side. But there's still probability that you could also get more money on the other side. How can they mitigate and make this volatility way less so you're always just getting what you put in? You get out what you get in. Okay, so what's interesting to note is this, guys. The current system is so inefficient. Swift has literally no war chest or money to even fund any initiatives. They're just trying to copy and survive and do whatever they can. 40 years old, built pre-internet, pre-digital era. And when they transfer money, and I'm talking about illiquid corridors, it could take 2 days to even 6 days of their currencies being exposed. They don't have direct pairings like between the rupiah and the Argentine peso. They have to go through some big liquid corridors like the euro or the US dollar to get there. It's highly inefficient. So when you're sending your money and you are sending the Argentine peso or the rupiah and it's there for 2 days as that currency, then it goes to another currency for another few days, and then it's getting sold and bought and all this. Do you know, if you've ever traded in the foreign exchange market, do you know the type of foreign exchange exposure, volatility that you can actually get hit with? It is absolutely insane. When you're sending XRP, yes, it transfers in 3 to 5 seconds, but the whole process of, both users typing and clicking between the software, yeah, maybe a couple minutes versus 2 to 6 days, even 2 to 3 days. What do you think is going to be more volatile, mathematically speaking? Brad Garlinghouse broke it down and showed how XRP is already less volatile. So that is no longer an argument. Okay, now this is more so what I think is, this sounds a lot more professional in my opinion, at least compared to that excuse. So another reason why Swift is hesitant, not willing to use cryptocurrency, is because the legal status of XRP and other cryptos remain unclear due to the current uncertain regulatory environment. Now, I believe this is 2018. It may have been 2019. I apologize. I live and breathe this stuff like everybody. So risk-averse financial institutions are unlikely to adopt cryptocurrencies until regulations become clearer. Well, good thing, because we know that Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities, and literally cryptocurrencies can now be held by national banks. So it seems like the regulatory clarity is coming. Now the question is, what the heck are they waiting for? All right, now this was sent to me by Mark. Thank you, man. So this is a Zero Hedge article. I just want to touch on this. Notice, the Fed is preparing to deposit digital dollars directly to each American. So the next step, we've been hearing about this for months, blah, blah, blah. But notice, The section titled Central Bank Digital Currencies. The Cleveland Fed president, remember, we've tied them with Ripple before. You can type in, Cleveland Fed or Ripple. You can find some PDFs as well. Writes, the experience with pandemic emergency payments has brought forward an idea that was already gaining increased attention at central banks around the world. That is, central bank digital currencies. And then also, talking about the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Yes, this gentleman, I believe he's been in many Ripple Insights articles as well. Jim, how do you say it? Kuna? I'm blanking. But anyways, we'll go over it in a sec. Okay, here's Jim. So Boston Fed VP, blockchain will make up SWIFT and other middlemen. Yes, middlemen, intermediaries had a role to play in the medieval times. What's important to know is today, middlemen, intermediaries are nothing more than parasites on the system. And I'm just referring to the banking system as a whole. They're just simply sucking fees off everywhere. And as we know, there's 1.7 billion people unbanked. The World Bank in 2018 said that, like a huge population essentially lives off less than $5.50 a day. When I say level the playing field, I'm referring to the international payment space and the tier 1 banks that have to make it more fair. All right, financially inclusive, and of course, disintermediation, getting rid of the middlemen. So just talking about the future of SWIFT, talking about all these fintech conferences. Of course, we have a bunch of, tech people researching this, even, the Fed Bank of Philadelphia, Bank of Boston, etc. Going through all this, talking about the middlemen, things that we already know, and specifically saying that, fintechs are, stepping up as well. All right, but they're going to complement each other. The whole narrative of this, if you're listening to the world leaders, is that the public and private sector are going to be working together. So it is very, very key to pay attention to that because, yes, I'm another person that does believe that words mean things, right? He didn't really give many details of proof of concepts, talking about Hyperledger as well, Hyperledger Fabric, Ethereum, all right? They lump blockchain together. Remember, blockchain and DLT are different. DLT is the parent. You guys already know this. Squash the currency. And then bridging the gap, which I found interesting. Notice he further mentioned projects such as, and this is where it ties back into Blythe Masters, Ixani's work with the DTCC. Well, who are they? Oh, no biggie. They were the Fed before the Fed. They transfer over $1 quadrillion a year. And the former president, Don Donahue, became chairman of Ripple Nets. But yeah, just another coincidence. And Digital Asset Holdings work with Australian Securities Exchange, ASX, as well. Digital Asset Holdings, Blythe Masters. Okay? Pay close attention. And then even here, yes, you guys know what Project Stella is as well. All right, just showing you just a few connections and then also pointing to Ripple, which has perhaps been the most aggressive in pursuit of Swift's market share. You can't deny it. We have even Brian Brooks name dropping Ripple maybe a month or two ago on that conference call. It's a huge player. I mean, why wouldn't you? They're valued, one of the highest valued private companies to come out of Silicon to date. All right, ASX now completed the first distributed ledger settlement prototype. This is in 2016. Come on, this is before the bull run, guys. It's so obvious where the space is going. And yes, there's going to be permissioned blockchains and networks and databases, but they're also going to interconnect with open systems as well. And that is what I just want to get out. And the question is this. All right, so you're investing in the cryptocurrencies. They're open sourced. Do you think that some of the winners that will be here in 5 years exist today? I do. I do think there's going to be a few winners. And one comes to mind that has been developing liquidity for 8 years, XRP. And the other ones that may win and do very well and not only survive, but thrive are the ones that are being built with a level playing field in mind. That level playing field narrative, agnostic, such as things that are working together to be able to not only have to rely on Ethereum. QNT Overledger, Quant is another example. And yes, there's many agnostic protocols, many agnostic digital assets, but that is just one example, okay? All right. Keep going here. Talked about Blythe. Now, here's Jim. I was reading about his bio earlier. Now I want to touch on this. So MIT and Boston Fed launch collaboration to explore digital currency in banking. Interesting. Well, whenever we say MIT, yes, they run an XRP validator, but they're also big in the technology, AI, and also working with the Algorand Foundation. One of the faculty is actually the CEO of the Algorand Foundation, Silvio, and he has a huge background in computer science and computer engineering and everything. And essentially, they're working on borderless economies. Really, really interesting. And funny enough, perfectly timed. Thank you, ECOS, for tagging me in this. So we have Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of the other behemoth fintech, Circle, what did they do? Well, Ethereum was getting really expensive, so they moved their stablecoin on to Algorand. Notice they sent the first $1 million transaction of USDC on Algorand. We can click here, and I know a few videos ago we talked about the costs and why they're doing so. And notice that Algo will be able to essentially scale even 10 times faster as well in the future. So look, 1 million USD, so $1 million, and we can come down here and see the actual fee. Interesting. All right. And if you guys watched those recent tutorials that I uploaded yesterday, you'll notice that I talk about Algo a lot, specifically when going over the Ledger Nano and staking. All right. Next, just another thing that came in recent news yesterday, I believe, was established by the XRP Ledger XRPL Foundation. Turns out that this is a non-for-profit organization. They were established on the 24th, yesterday. The purpose is to promote the development and adoption of XRP. Leisure. Ha ha ha. All right. So just keep in mind, this is not the sign of a company that is disappearing, that is looking to go public. This is not the sign of even this type of the actual ledger, the actual network. It's not going anywhere. Why on earth did they just receive another 6.5 million in donations from these groups? Because development is occurring. All right. Rest assured. We just got to get through this storm and it will be all upside. All right. Mbiagi, we're touching on this and we'll call it a day. So Mbiagi, I know many of you have known this, but Finastra, one of the tech providers, it is RippleNet enabled. Remember, I talked about them being connected with the DTCC, and I believe that Darren Moore was one of the researchers that originally discovered that as well. So definitely subscribe to that gentleman. And also Consensus. Remember Consensus, literally days ago, they just acquired JP Morgan's Quorum. All right, and Quorum can't scale. We know its issues, but just talking about now they're working together as well. Should be no surprise. And just wanted to touch on that. And they're specifically focusing on, obviously, SMEs and targeting Africa and the unbanked as well. All right, now there was one thing I wanted to show you right here. So the company believes that the most efficient way to reduce the amount of unbanked people around the globe, currently 1.7 billion people, is to fight poverty with the rise in employment. So I'm not saying this is directly XRP by any means. I'm just showing you the initiatives across the board. It is not just a business opportunity. There is actual demand for people in the world that need this. All right. Just wanted to share. And yes, there's siloed environments, mobile banks, physical banks, brick and mortars all throughout Africa that need help. And I know many groups are working on this, such as even Cardano specifically. All right. We already talked about Consensus acquiring Quorum. And I think that is basically it. So just wanted to do another public service announcement. So I just did 10 basic complete beginner tutorials. When I say complete beginner, I mean if you just got into cryptocurrency last month, this will be helpful for you guys. I just uploaded all of those videos if you want to check them out. One example here is just setting trades on exchanges, buying and selling, market orders, limit orders, and then even showing you the over-the-counter options on Binance US. So this is another example. You can literally go in the video description and you can go to the free crypto tutorials playlist. Check that out as well, and hopefully that will be helpful. I also did a very step-by-step going over how to use unstoppable domains. So hopefully this comprehensive step-by-step tutorial will be helpful for anybody that simply just wants to connect their domain name to their XRP wallet or anything else. And then notice obviously in the top right of this video, mine is kevincage.crypto. So hopefully you enjoyed, guys, and I will see you in the next video.